Thank you for coming, and let me welcome you all. And this is a well-attended gathering. It is a late dinner for reception of our visitors, from the European community. And as I said, it's well attended. I have on my side here our Prime Minister, the Chief Executive, and members of the Executive are all, most of them are present here. We thought it is prudent to welcome you in Sudan. And I believe officially you have been meeting all the responsible people in the Sudan, starting from the President, the Prime Minister who is here. Of course, you have met only the foreign ministers and his team, the humanitarian and Port Sudan. And all these meetings will ease your mission in Sudan, seeing, assessing, analyzing, and reporting to your states. With this small gathering here, as you have seen me now wearing very casual, I'm not in a tie, because if I put a tie and meet you in my office, the tie will actually squeeze my speaking, because I need to talk as a free person, so that they send the message to you as a concerned Sudanese, not as a vice president of the country, because it's different. So I want to be sharp and free and talk freely to you. This is why I came casual, and I invited you into my residence, so that you don't feel officially sitting in an office and be constrained by the institutional rules and regulations. To start this briefing to you is going to be a very small briefing. It is the same briefing that I actually gave to the foreign missions in South Africa 2024 when I visited South Africa. And I thought so it is useful also to just talk to you, because you are coming here to find facts about the war in Sudan, so that when you go and react and report to your state, your head of the state, that you are reporting on the facts on the ground. So to start with, I want to begin with a question. This question was posed a long time ago when the war started in Al-Fashir. Some journalists, I think the lady asked that, where was God when Fashir was attacked and the people killed, some of them buried alive? I'm posing this not on a theological aspect, but morally. And the question should have been not where was God? The question would have been where we are, what have we done, and what we have not done. I'm all talking here globally to everybody, not the Europeans alone, but to us all. Moreover, you are being here. I want you also to hear from the concerned Sudanese, because you have been hearing from the Sudanese with the neckties that are crisscrossing Europe and coming to your countries, advocating for Sudan, advocating for peace in Sudan. Those people, you have heard enough from them, and you have interacted with them. But it is a chance for you now, it's a good opportunity that you come to Sudan and interact with those who have not had the opportunity to be outside, to be with you in your countries. Tomorrow, officially, you are going to meet the Chief Executive or Prime Minister. He commands the details, and all the queries that you want, you will get it from from them, and you are going to meet some of the dignitaries who are available here, who are also concerned, and they are from the executive. What I'm going to do is just, raise some dust, so that you clear it, and they were going to clear it when it comes to details. Ladies and gentlemen, since this war started 3 years ago, this is documented, and the history of this war, the atrocities that are committed, more than 150,000 people died. This is just an estimation, but it might be more than that one. And of course, some findings from missions abroad already also documented such numerous loss of lives. And the war is categorized by a very high velocity, and I quote, "We have never seen a velocity of violence at this scale. They are moving like wood choppers, and they are killing everything that's moved." This is Nathaniel Raymond, that is of the Yale Humanitarian Research Lab. He's put it this. We quite agree with him. This is a different type of war that is being witnessed by the Sudanese, and the velocity of this war was great, and it was unprecedented maybe in most African wars, or where the wars has happened in maybe long time ago in the Second World War or the Crusade War, something might happen like this, but that is a long ancient history. But in the recent history, there's never been a witness such a war as is happening now. I want you actually, when we talk about the war in Sudan, because there is so much disinformation, misinformation, and misinterpretation of the war. There are so many conflicting narratives about the war in Sudan. So I will actually concentrate on these narratives of the war, so that we understand correctly the nature of the war in Sudan. The first narratives when the war started was the war. It was the war between two generals. This was the game of the war. It's a war between the two generals. Why is a war between the two generals? There were no two generals in the war in Sudan. There was a general of a legitimate army commanding his army, and there is a self-proclaimed family group, family structures general who was leading a counterinsurgency group that went wrong. It is legitimate. When the country is in war, you form your own counterinsurgency groups, because the insurgency has to be fought within the constituencies of the insurgency. But if you don't do that, then you will have a problem that the RSF is a counterinsurgency group that is being formed by the Sudanese government to fight the insurgency, which I was part of that insurgency that has been to be fought, and my colleague here, and my colleague here there in the uniform, and one with the jalabia. We were the group to be fought by that counterinsurgency group. This one went wrong, because usually you form the counterinsurgency group from the constituencies as individuals from a certain constituency to fight the insurgency in that constituency. But in Sudan, it was a tribal formation, some sort of an insurgency group, and it went wrong. It developed unproportionately, and they participated in so many aspects in the Sudan government, after one of them, of course, fighting the insurgency, and it was a phenomenal, some sort of a group, a fighting group, a combatant group. But when the government of Topol, they have been upgraded to become part of the army in a way or another, or affiliated to the Sudan government army. And as such doing, they actually developed an appetite, and then they started to actually compete for higher office. So the war, it was not between two generals. It's a clear rebellion of a counterinsurgency group which is formed by the same army. So let us put this one aside because it was made to misinform. And who made it? It is a group that was actually the FFC. The FFC is a group that was the ruling bloc, or the ruling civilian bloc. They wanted to avenge the October 2021 October change of the government, to avenge the army, and then they supported this group and then they labeled the war as generals are fighting because of the power sharing. That was wrong. It was a wrong narrative and it was misinforming. The second narrative was a war against the Islamists. Oh, this one is misinforming, is disinforming. Because even if we take the background of the force fighting, the RSF is clearly, as I put it, is a counterinsurgency group. Who created that counterinsurgency group? It is an Islamist government. It is a fundamentalist government that has created that one to fight it. So they are merely is a product of the Islamist government that's protected them. How can now an Islamist son, a product of an Islamist, fight against the creator? When we let them call them created, it is an institution that created by the Islamist government. So the issue of addressing this war, the war against to topple the Agnomists, this framing is not obsoletely, is also misleading, and is rather dangerous, because the reality is that people who are dying, the victims who are dying in this war, they are not Islamists, definitely. They are Masali, they are Zakawa, they are Ingasana, they are whoever it is, but definitely they are not Islamists. Maybe some sort of who have an Islamist affiliation might be there, but totally this is not a war against the Islamists, and the government is not an Islamist government after all to start with. I'm part of this government, and I've been fighting the Islamists for the last 30 years they are in power. My colleagues are here also, they're fighting. And you have the Prime Minister here who has nothing to do with Islamists. I'm not sure whether he has something to do with the religion, what type of religion, but I'm sure he doesn't have any something to do with the Islamists. So see the line here. Can anybody point out there is an Islamist in this group so that to be fought by or be changed? So this narrative is a misleading narrative, and it is a dangerous narrative, because if you label the Sudan as an Islamist government, it is wrong, and it is meant to be address the concerns of some group in the Gulf areas who are concerned about this issue of the Islamists. The other narratives that came, a slogan that is also came on for up is the war for democratic change. This one really need to pause it. When we talk about democracy, in Africa, of course, it's a difficult issue. Even if you talk, we will not be understood. Because here they understand, but as you are sitting here, some of you are young, but some of you are old enough to know the history of Europe 80 years ago. But some of you are young, they have never seen wars. They have never seen atrocities. But when you talk about democracy, Europe went through the road. Democracy did not fall from the sky, was not given to you, was not donated. It was not manufactured in a manufacturing company. It was worked for. It's an experience of nations, and you went through the road so that they came to what we call democracy now. Everybody loves it. I love it. But what type of democracy is that we talk about? When you go to the Red Sea, you flew from Port Sudan. When you go to the Red Sea and stay there, the Bija with their small goats and camels on top of these hills, 90% illiteracy. So you come and advocate democracy for them, or you educate them. You go to where I'm coming from. I'm coming from an area called Brunei there, where people are cattle herders and moving with their animals and all this thing, and you talk about democracy. And the belt of Sudan, it says you have 8 million in the belt of Sudan, in South Sudan, Chad, and Ethiopia, and all these things. Those who know Sudan, these are nomads, and you come and preach them about democracy and all these things. It is a good idea, and it is a good system, and it is a system that works. But before we talk about the democracy that we ought to achieve, we need to go gradually, and we need to go through. You cannot be a bishop in one day, and you cannot be a pope in one day. You have to go from catechist, then you reach you reach fatherhood, you reach the highest office. So for us, we are for democracy, but when we even talk about democracy, and then this group talks about democratic change in Sudan, government of civilian-led government. We have civilian-led government, definitely. But this civilian-led government, you can argue is not elected. Yeah, it's not elected. But where the condition is conducive for electing the democratic government, the answer is no. Then you also, you bring democracy. You need the legislative institutions, you need the executive institutions in Sudan to be in order. Yeah. Unless you do this, we will not go to the last stage of bringing democracy, because that is the highest part of the people, is elections. You go to the elections, you pass rule along the road, which we want to reach. But you reach the elections and you bring democracy to Sudan, you cannot bring it through the measure of Aganas is happening now. Those who are now advocating that they are fighting for democracy with their allies who are following them, and they go to Europe and talk about democracy. The only question, how do you bring democracy when guns and shells are intercepting themselves in the air? So you cannot bring democracy when people are killing themselves. You need peace, first of all. And peace also has its own roots, has its own processes that you have to follow. So we are saying, we are yes, we are democratic, but the route and the slogan now, they are talking about the democracy, is a wrong slogan. And this is actually manufactured by a certain group among them. Because now they change the narrative. They change narratives, number one, from 2 generals war, the narrative number 2 for war against Islamists, and now war to change democratic. This is to address the concerns of the West, the Western Bloc and the West, because this is what they understand. If I talk about the Islamists, you may not understand it well, because you don't know their danger. And if you talk about other slogans, you will not get it well, because you don't know the value or the danger of that one. But when I come and preach in Brussels, in the European Parliament about democracy, everybody will listen to me in Europe, because you are talking something right. But if I go and say this issue of democracy and take it to one of the Gulf countries and go and talk about the democratic change and elections, they will take you to hospital. They will say he's mad. Let us take him to a psychiatric hospital. These are slogans are designed to be set in different constituencies. So even though we are for democracy, but this democracy has to be defined for us. For us, we think, yes, we want democracy, but before we go to that extent or stage, the final stage, we need social justice. We are still fighting. The fighting is still going on. People need services. The chief executive is here. People are not asking about how do you rule us. People are asking now here, where is the electricity? Where is the water? Where is all these things? But they are not asking, how are you ruling us? Are you democratic or not democratic? So people now want social justice. And when you actually give services and then avail social justice, then they will listen to you. They will not listen to the slogans, because this is what they need now immediately. So we will want to know that our immediate need is services, is peace, is tranquility. And when after that, somebody will come and say, okay, the second ask is, why do you democratize yourselves? We will say, yes, we will democratize ourselves. But we need to be stable first and then do these things. This narrative is designed for the Eastern, Western Bloc and all these things. And then the other end, the third one, is the war against the center, the marginalized and the center. This, we know that Sudan has been, the diversity of Sudan has been mismanaged for quite a long time. And wars started in Sudan, not this war. Wars started in Sudan in 1955, in August 1955, even before the colonial system goes out, the colonial group goes out, the British goes out. We started our wars. We started our wars because of the mismanagement of our diversity, the mismanagement of our identity. There are so many mismanagement, and also the gap, the gap between the center and the periphery, which was not actually narrowed and bridged. So we saw failing to do this. We failed to form the government of diversity, the government that followed the rule of law, the government that administered the diversity of the people, whether this is cultural diversity, whether this is religious diversity, whether this was ecological diversity. We know this one leads to war, and it leads to war anywhere, not only in Sudan. So by having this gap, we have several wars. And as we are speaking now here in this gathering, Sudan, since 1972 up to now, we actually signed 46 agreements and accords. And these 46 agreements and accords are with a foreign-making intervention. What do I mean by foreign-making intervention? We silence the guns, but we don't solve the root causes of the wars in Sudan. We signed Addis Ababa 1972 and up to now, and we signed so many Abujas, we signed so many Qatar Dohas, and we signed in so many countries we have peace accords and peace agreements, but they didn't solve the problem in Sudan because we are actually attending or adhering to a foreign intervention. This time, this war is not because of the periphery, and it was because of this problem was there for quite a very long time. This one also is slogan is being brought up to us just to mobilize the periphery, of which I'm part of it, and this one is not going to work, and it's just a slogan to confuse the world, because when you sit there and you see that this war has 4 objectives. Any war has 1 objective, but this one has 4 objectives. We saw that has 4 different instruments, 4 different tools, 4 different methods of implementation, 4 different methods of achieving it. So you can understand the confusion of the war now. And this war causes this destruction, apart from all this happening. So we want to resolve this problem. How do we resolve the problem? With those so many confusion which is happening. And how did we view the war in Sudan? Sudanese, Sudanese who are being affected by the war, they have a different view of this war. They think this is a war, a proxy war, fought by a proxy group, for proxy interests, and as such, it needs a different approach from the wars that was happening in Sudan. So the war, it has its foreign elements is bigger than the internal elements. It started by the RSF, whether we dispute whether they are Sudanese or not Sudanese, whether they are full Sudanese or not full Sudanese. But the moving remote of the war is not inside Sudan. It is in the Gulf. They have their interests, whether these are economical interests, whether these are security interests, whether these are different interests. You know, Sudan situated in the Horn of Africa. I mean, it adjusting so many countries, and moreover, it has the Sahel of the Red Sea, and with so much conflicting neighbors, resources. We have the resources, which we sometimes see ourselves as a burden, having resources and not able to utilize these resources. Somebody somewhere wants to utilize these resources, but he wants to utilize these resources according to his own means, according to his own needs, but not taking into consideration the needs of the Sudanese. So we view the war in Sudan as a war of occupation directed against Sudanese. And this war, since it's directed against Sudanese, we believe it is a war on occupation, and Sudan will not accept to be occupied. Secondly, Sudan will not be accepted to divide it. Any interference in the Sudanese affairs, as this war is happening, is unacceptable to the Sudanese. So what do we want? I will come to the ask. What do we want from you as a European community or as a world community? But before I come to that one, this war also has created a disastrous situation of the humanitarian. You had already had a meeting with the commissioner, and you will still have a meeting with so many concerned people, and you will have a meeting tomorrow with the executives. As the war created displacement in a huge number, created refuge in neighboring countries or even abroad in a huge number, and the needs of the people are skyrocketing. But there is one problem when we talk about the needs of the Sudanese. You will see on the screens in the international media, or sometimes the UN, they will bombard us with 25 million Sudanese are in need. Yes, there is people in need, but who counted them? Where are the counts that somebody went and counted them? Who did the assessment of the needs so that you tell us there is Sudanese, 25 million Sudanese in X and X and X, and their needs is so and so? There, nobody did a need assessment. It's an imaginary. This is not, we are not denying the suffering of the Sudanese. We are not denying the existence of the but we are denying the exaggerated number that is put on the screens, maybe for other reasons also. There is donor fatigue. You need to be more aggressive in putting your case on. You want to be more, stand for doing this. But the reality is that there is needs. No assessment, correct assessment has been done. And maybe the correct assessment will be the people who are displaced in neighboring countries, or refugees in the neighboring countries, because you have specific areas where you can go and count them and where you can go and assess their needs. But when they tell us about the Sudanese 25 million, we're saying, did you count the nomads as part of this 25 million? They were there anyway, but they were suffering anyway without war, without war. They were there, they had their needs, they had their problems. Are you including them in the 25 million that we are talking about? And if Sudan is 45 million, and then you put 25 million are in need, then you are telling us Sudan, 100% Sudan is in need. Yeah, we will be in need because we cannot fulfill everything in all the needs of the Sudanese. But as such, failing to do that one, not because of the war only, not because of the nature of the country, because of the poor infrastructure of the country, because accessing people sometimes. Now it is raining season in some areas where it is impossible to access the people. But we are doing very well. The Sudan government, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, they are doing a credible job in terms of aiding the humanitarian work, as you have been told by the Commissioner this morning. And really, we appreciate the work of those who are working for the humanitarian. They were working in a dire situation, a very difficult situation that is, some of them actually encountered many problems. In the health sector, we are talking about 100 and more workers, health workers died. humanitarian workers died in this war. They are doing a critical job, and we commend that one. But we want them also to, from here onward, to actually, instead of giving, let them actually move to developmental, some sort of aids in the humanitarian issues. So this is about the humanitarian situation, which is direct, and I want also to shed a light on it. We'll get the details. I'm not talking about the details of this one, but I want to actually try to conclude this one because people, we need to have some water somewhere. So then the issue after this narrative, where do we go from here? Do we continue fighting? Do we find a way of stopping this war? How do we stop the war? And why is it difficult not to stop? As Sudan government, we had actually put forward on the table a roadmap. It is a detail, in state, in phases roadmap, and this is this roadmap being created by the chairman of the Sovereignty Council, President Al-Burhan, in the UN Assembly in 2023, maybe July, June 2024, and also reiterated by His Excellency the Prime Minister a couple of months ago. We are for that roadmap. It's a detailed one, and it starts from phase one, which is cessation of hostilities, withdrawal to settle locations, and so forth, and it goes on. You will get the details from the Prime Minister tomorrow. But again, it was difficult because what makes a war, the peace difficult in Sudan is these four narratives. Because everybody sees the war on his own lens, and they see the war on these four narratives that I have talked about. Those who see the war on the democratic narratives, they have their own parameters different from those who see it from the Islamist narratives, from those who see it from internal narratives, and from those who see it from whatever narrative they are seeing it. This is what makes it, this is now a variety of it. A variety of these narratives, it makes it also difficult. The one element that is also makes it difficult is the multitude of the initiatives. In 2023, we started with the African Union, and this is also, this one is normally, and it is ununderstandable, because Sudan has been suspended from the African Union. But when the war started, in 2023, the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, they came up with a format. It's what they call widened initiatives. The widened initiatives is the African plus. But Sudan was not at the table. And they want to solve the problem of Sudan in the absence of Sudan. That this is an irony. This is what makes post difficult. Because you cannot solve the problem when I didn't tell you how do I feel. If you are a doctor and then I come to you, then you give me a Panadol and say, this is I'm treating you. You didn't ask me how do I feel. What do I have a headache? I have diarrhea? I have whatever it is. You need to ask me. Sudan was not consulted. It is just Agar came up with something, and the African Peace and Security Council with another three initiatives. The neighboring countries, they came up with an initiative that died after Egypt and others. And then you have the Quart. The irony of the Quart is that the Quartermaster General, that prolonging this war, is part of the Quart. And it's also the part of the quintet, now, as we see. So it is both, killing and trying to bring peace. You cannot kill Sudanese, and on the other side, you want to bring peace. I'm talking particularly about the UAE. This has to be addressed, and I find it, and I see it is very difficult, and I know it's very difficult, because as I was talking to you as an European community, I don't underrate your I don't underrate your powers, and I don't underrate your privileges in these countries, and I don't underrate your relations. But there is a problem. It's an economic problem. So can we balance? Can we weigh between the economic interests, your economic interests, our security interests, others' economic interests? How do we weigh this one? How do we balance this one? So that to see the European group or the European community or the Western bloc one time comes up, not only condemning, mildly condemning, but telling the truth, calling the spade is a spade. If you want the war in Sudan to stop, stop it. You are the cause of the war in Sudan. You are the one prolonging the war in Sudan, and then I'm talking about the UAA in this one. So the peace that will have to come to Sudan, it will pass through the UAA. It will pass, because if we don't have an amicable relation with the UAE, which was administering this war, the war will still continue, and we will all start just condemning this one. Then, if this war continues, and I hope not, and I beg God not, then it has consequences. Sudan cannot be defeated, but God forbid, if it happens, then we have a dire consequences. One, it is going to create an ungoverning territory, because it's collapse. The second day, South Sudan will collapse. Ethiopia will collapse. Chad will collapse. This is not a story. This is not a creating story. This is a reality that I'm seeing, and who people who know the Horn of Africa and know the position of Sudan, they can actually agree with me this one. It's not just, an academic issue. If Sudan collapses tomorrow, East Africa will be going to collapse. Eventually, Africa will go to collapse. Egypt may resist for some time because of the strong infrastructure, but eventually will collapse. Then what is the substitute for this one? You will have safe haven for drug trafficking, human trafficking, and then pirating on the Red Sea. You will have them. You will have Islamic fundamentalism, because you have the Shabab there, you have the Boko Haram, you have all these things. They need a space. They will all come here. And when we talk about human trafficking, where do you think they are going to? Definitely they are not going to Chad, or they are not going to Liberia. They are going to you. They are going to you there. They will come there with their ugly faces. They will come there with their ugly attitudes. They will come there with their fundamentalism, and they will change your democracy at one point of time. Now you are crying that some of people who are coming there with their bad ideologies and they are affecting your country. There will be more there. Really. For God's sake, they will be there. So why don't you prevent it? Not to prevent Sudan not to collapse. Help Sudan not to collapse. We are not going. We are going to try our level best so that we don't collapse. But also contribute to what we are doing. So we actually need from you, apart actually apart from condemning the crimes, war crimes that has happened in Sudan, let us work seriously and immediately to find a solution to the UAE. We want to sit with them. Why not? Because we want also to know what do they want from us. Our foreign minister at one point of a time had a chance of sitting with them, but there was no progress because they were adamant to continue the war. And some power somewhere is igniting this also, because a tiny country like the UAE, which you cannot even see in the map if you put your finger, cannot do all these damages without some power somewhere, without naming it. But it is there. If we dig down into our minds, and we'll come up with it. So we let us prevent Sudan from collapsing. Let us work hardly for peace in Sudan. Let us strengthen the Sudanese initiatives and the Sudanese political parties, the real, genuine Sudanese political parties. Those whom you are seeing there, these are not the genuine political parties. These are oppositions, and opposition for a reason. If they come to Sudan and they talk a lot of issues about democracy, about all these things, we have tried this one. I mean, as I say, some of you are old enough to know what is happening here. You have seen us in the bushes here talking about democracy, so many liberation movement talk about democracy, but when they come to the thrones, when they come to the powers here, they miss the same thing is the same narrative is happening as we are talking now. So we want you to actually support Sudan, and as you come here, you have seen, I believe you have seen some of the sceneries of the walk. When you walk around, you will hear a lot, you will see a lot, and you will get stories from the horse mouths as is sitting here, so that you analyze the situation in Sudan. But we are saying the situation in Sudan is being orchestrated from outside Sudan more than inside Sudan. But I want to repeat also, this war, we don't want it to continue. We want a peace. Everybody wants peace. And for us, like somebody like me who knows the heat of the battle, I don't think anybody who knows the heat of the battle, if you had a chance of staying peacefully, you will always continue to stay peacefully. Whenever danger comes or whether something that will come, you say, no, please, stop where you are, because I've been in that game. Is an ugly game. So apart from we asking you to do the right thing and to take the right decisions about the war in Sudan, and not to take the decision of imposing solutions on the Sudanese. What we wanted to do, when we lead this war, we'll come to the peace, Sudanese peace initiatives. So what we need from you is to support that one, whether you support it politically, whether you support it realistically, so that Sudanese, they themselves, they reach the war that, the peace that it wants, that resolve the internal issues of Sudan, that resolve all the differences and the gaps in Sudan, not the issue of just silencing the Kalashnikov. And this war, as I said, is difficult, and it needs a different approach. Now, if you go to the street here and you tell some people in the street, to tell them about the SRF, they will say, no, we don't want them anymore, because they are committed a lot of atrocities. Even there, they are talking about democracy and talking about all these things, but the atrocities that are committed are beyond recognition and beyond tenders, so that they cannot be part of this one, of any government that is coming, or any system in Sudan. People will not accept them, definitely. But this is also for negotiation. Wars, all the wars on the tables, all the wars in the negotiations on the table. We want it to end on that one, but it is Sudanese driven. It is inside out, not outside in. And this is, I think, in short. Of course, we will go to the details tomorrow when we meet the Prime Minister, when you meet the President and the concerned people of the institute. The man for peace is here. So you may meet him also, so that you will hear a lot from him. You have the presidential advisors, you have the foreign minister here, you have the economic people are here. As I said, I'm just creating a dust so that you clear it tomorrow with the people. And I thank you very much for listening. And if you have any queries, I'm ready to entertain. And if you don't have, then because tomorrow you will get it, you can reserve your question for tomorrow. Tomorrow you will say the Vice President has said it. What do you say about it? As I will reserve for the Vice President, because he will answer you tomorrow.
No, we will have the opportunity to discuss tomorrow, and hopefully also at many other occasions in the future.
Even now and tomorrow, we are open.
Excellent. No, first of all, just to thank you, Excellency, for this warm welcome to Khartoum and to your house. And we feel very honored, and feel very honored also that you invited so many other representatives of the Sudanese authorities It's a great privilege for us that we have this opportunity to get to know you and to exchange. This is much appreciated, sincerely. First thing to do for us, we are very glad to be in Khartoum. We are very glad to be in Sudan. Sudan is a country we are highly interested in, and where we also believe we have common interests and mutual interests. And this is also the basis for our hopefully increasingly strengthened relationship. We have a shared interest, mutual interests. And one of let's say the main points of departure for us is that we want to have a stable, united, prosperous Sudan. There's no doubt about it. And that we do not want to see any parallel governance structures whatsoever. There we are fully very clear on this. We also, you had a very nicely structured presentation, and I envy you for this. And it was really very enlightening for us in many ways. But there's also a lot of what we could, of course, discuss even further. But we came really here to listen. This is really the main sign of our mission to Sudan and to Khartoum, that we make this effort, the sign that we make this effort collectively with many member states, colleagues, ambassadors who made the effort to come to Sudan. This is the signal we come here. We do not want to talk about Sudan, from afar in some fora, but we also want to listen to you and to get our own first-hand impressions and information. And so this is a very important sign from us. What I want to say, I have not such a structured presentation as you have, but the European Union, we have collectively also reflected. What do we want? What do we want in Sudan? If we agree that we have a shared interest, what do we want? And actually the 27 foreign ministers, they agreed last year in October. And what they call the four asks. And I don't know if this is a good word, the four asks, but it gives a bit of a structure to what we think, where we should heading at together. And it in many respects responds also to the points you made. For us, the very first point is that we want peace in Sudan, and that we would hope from the authorities that they constructively engage in peace efforts. Whatever they look like, we can discuss. And there are very much Sudanese prime minister's proposals on how to do this. But this is a very important point for us, that we would be very, very happy if we would see a Sudanese government, and I'm not saying it's not the case, but we would hope to see a Sudanese government that constructively engages in peace efforts. And the second point is, the humanitarian. You alluded also a lot about the humanitarian question. This is also very dear to our hearts. This is very much European Union DNA. We do not want to see people suffer. And this is also an opportunity for me to express our deepest sympathy for the people in Sudan that have suffered now 4 years. Horrible, and we also talking about it. What the people have suffered and still are suffering in Sudan. This is unimaginable. So we are very much engaged, in trying to help you, to help the UN organizations, all those who are doing the work in the country, that they have the resources and the means, to address the humanitarian needs. We can talk about the definition of the needs, and of course I was always very confident that there are good needs assessments being done. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was always my impression that this is a very, let's say, decently, professionally done process. We just met the UN country team. They are very committed colleagues who are trying to do their best also in this area. And we would also, when it comes to the humanitarian, it's very much also related to the humanitarian international law. So that the people are protected, the civilians that are protected, and that no crimes are committed against civilians, so that they are not deliberately targeted. What we see very often, in particular recently from the other side, I admit, but we also mentioned the fact-finding mission. There were also cases where the army committed such acts. So this is the whole question of the respect of humanitarian law, but also the question of access and of facilitating humanitarian aid delivery. And I must say, we had a good meeting with the humanitarian aid commissioner in Port Sudan today, and I think we had really the impression that we are on a very good path. The third area, also again responding to quite some points you've made, is on civilian-led transition, as it is sometimes called. What is it? I don't know, but it's a transition. And I think I have hardly met any Sudanese so far who would not agree that there needs to be a transition. We are not in a situation now, which would, let's say, would be the best solution for the future of Sudan. But there needs to be a transition to a better governance. We believe ultimately it has to be democratic. I'm being honest. Ultimately it has to be democratic, but there are also other criteria. It should be Sudanese. Should include all the Sudanese, all races, religions, what have you, gender, and so forth. So this is very important that this transition is what we call inclusive, and it has to be a participatory process. That those, in particular those who might not have a voice now, that they get a voice. So this is the transition, and we also believe that this transition will probably take time. You cannot do this from one day to the other. There cannot be elections tomorrow. This would be a disaster. We know it. So, also there, what would be fantastic would be to have a counterpart with your authorities that constructively engage on how this transition should look like. There is the quintet. We are very proud to be part of the quintet as European Union, to be honest once more, but we also know about the shortcomings. This is a process which takes place outside of Sudan, which is not ideal. But are the conditions really there, to have the whole process of civilian dialogue, to have it now in Sudan? Or should it rather be a combination? That also those who had to flee the country, that they are also included, but also the Sudanese who stayed in Sudan. So I would argue, both have to have a voice in this process. So this is on the transition. And the last point, for very dear to the hearts of the European Union is the whole question of accountability and the fight against impunity. That those, and I was very, very happy to see that you quoted even the fact-finding mission, and you mentioned the International Criminal Court. We support that. We do not hide. We support these institutions, and we believe they do a very important job. You will not be able to build a peaceful and doable Sudan if you do not address the injustice, which has been committed and done. So, and you mentioned you need a process of transitional justice and so forth. And there are these instruments. They document the crimes, and they make it possible, to have a follow-up and to bring those who are responsible before justice. And this is, in our view, extremely important point. And there, we also, I mentioned it, would also like to see, Sudanese authorities that say, okay, why don't we discuss with the fact-finding mission? Why don't we work with the ICC? The ICC has anyhow a limited mandate for Darfur, and they are doing, I spoke to them, they are doing quite a good job on what has happened in Al-Fashir. is very impressive and is an extremely important job. There are other means also to ensure that we fight impunity, or that impunity is not accepted. There are NGOs doing a good job in many ways. And also there, I think we could try to support your efforts in this respect to build a justice system, a Sudanese justice system that would of course be the very first choice, to have a Sudanese justice system that is willing and able to take up this role. So that's what I say in a much less structured way than you did. What we have defined as four really important areas where we would like to work together. And these are very broad areas, and we believe we should try to scale them down or to make them more granular, more detailed, and to see if there is not here and there, because we will not from one day to the other agree on everything. That's for sure. That's unfortunately not the reality. It will take time. It will be a process. And what we would like to see is that we can, both sides, that we can engage in a process where we look at certain areas which are of common interest and where we have also common objectives, that we really see what can we do to build trust and to increase our cooperation, where we can help and where you can help us to help you. I think there are many opportunities, I believe. Let's try to explore them together. But it will be an effort from both sides. We will have to travel more often to Sudan, maybe also Khartoum, obviously. But we would also then welcome, to have missions to Europe to discuss these issues more in detail. So I spoke also pretty long. My apologies for that. Again, for us it's a really important event and an opportunity to be here with you. And I would also like to give the opportunity to my colleagues, because I do not want only to listen to me, if they want to compliment what I just said. If you allow, Excellency, I pass the floor to my colleagues.
Yeah, sure. But we don't want you to visit Sudan or Khartoum. We want you to renovate your premises and then stay.
Yes, will come. Yes, will come.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation and the number of arguments and presenting your view about the developments in Sudan. Me as Ambassador of Poland, I'd like to say that the history of Sudan didn't start with the war. So because now we are talking about the war, about the tragedy which fell up in this beautiful nation and the country. But for me as a representative of the country which went through a very difficult process to reach the democracy, so Poland after the Second World War wasn't a democratic country. It was, it was completely independent country, as my colleagues representing Hungary and Bulgaria. So we know how such processes are long-standing. What is very important, when we in Poland made the solidarity movement and tried to rebuild our political and democratic and economic life, which led us to quite high position nowadays, we had to include everybody in the country. Because now, of course, you live in the countries which is divided apart. You've got people from different societies, different parts of the country. But sooner or later you have to include them into the democratic process. You cannot exclude them because they will live with you. If you'd like to have the United Sudan, you have to find bridges towards them. And what is also very important is the building the sort of the national pride. So that getting back to your heritage, national heritage, to feel like Sudanese, like a Pole, like a German, and not looking for a division, looking for the unification. And so that's why, we as European Union, of course, we are a political entity, but we represent 27 countries, which is great, and each of them has some, let's say, attitude towards Sudan. Mostly it's a very positive attitude. So we are concentrating on different spheres of engagement. For example, Poland is archaeology for many years, just building up also your university environment is also very important. Others are humanitarian, others are development. And perhaps one sentence, more sentence. It happened that I was here in April 2023. And I remember when we, with our European colleagues, how we tried just to help and support this political process, which led to political agreement. We failed to some extent. Even at the very last day, before the war started, we were talking with the civilian politicians that you should do something, you should be more open. So because in order to avoid the war, we cannot say that the war is any option. Unfortunately, we didn't success. However, we can promise that we are doing the best in order to help Sudan and in any faithful endeavor and action. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mr. Deputy Chairman, for organizing this meeting. We see that the whole cabinet is here. Let me just express our appreciation. We came here to visit your beautiful country because we would like Sudan to succeed, this terrible conflict to be ended. And for us, not only as a European Union, but also as a member state, to find a way to re-establish our traditional good relations. As regards Bulgaria, we have quite a history of great relations in the field of education. 3,000 Bulgarian medical doctors, physicians and engineers complete their studies in our country. We have a great Bulgarian community here with mixed families. So let me assure you that we would like to find a way to re-establish these relations, and I take occasion of your words inviting us to re-establish our presence here at our premises. In our case, we have a specific affair to discuss with you, specific matter, so I would be happiest to find the opportunity to discuss it at least for a few minutes. Thank you so much for organizing this wonderful meeting, and we hope that this will be only our first meeting here. Thank you.
Okay, so now we will all speak, I think. I will only say one sentence. Thank you really for having us. I'm the ambassador of Hungary. Thank you for having us here. I think Wolfram said everything we all wanted, and we are here to listen, and I think this was an excellent occasion. So thank you for a very concise presentation, and we look forward to continuing the work.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, for this opportunity and for the hospitality, and the Ambassador of Cyprus. I'm very happy to be here after not being able to come to the Sudan in my 4 years as Ambassador to Cairo. I also am fully covered by what the Ambassador of the European Union has said. Just to say that we have heard you loudly and clearly, and we will have, I think, more of an opportunity to discuss the issues tomorrow. But I think what we all can agree on is that we want this war to end as quickly as possible, because no people should be going through what the Sudanese people are suffering and have suffered throughout this war. So I think we can all agree that this is the top priority, as well as finding a viable political settlement that can help people live in peace and prosper and not return to conflict ever again. Thank you.
Also for Czech Republic, I don't have much to add. First of all, I appreciate your greeting, Mr. Prime Minister. And of course, there are many traditions which have always been built with former Czechoslovakia and my countries today. The war unfortunately interrupted it. I'm here also to help reconnect it, the relationship we used to have. And of course, there are many areas, and hopefully during our today's informal talk or tomorrow, we will be able to continue with the dialogue. Thank you very much again for your openness and warm welcome.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for having us here in residence and for allowing so much time to discuss these issues together with you and your cabinet members. It's a pleasure to be here. I visited Port Sudan in December last year and met some of your colleagues, and I look forward also to further meetings tomorrow. 10 years ago, I lived here in Sudan together with my family, and I worked at the Embassy of Sweden here in Khartoum back then. It was a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it here, and so did my family. Our youngest daughter was born when we lived here, and we have many, many fond memories. So to come back now 10 years later and drive through the city and see the level of destruction is truly heartbreaking. It is horrifying to see the effects of this war on your country and on your people. So first of all, I want to express my deep sympathy for all affected people of Sudan. Sweden is also a country that cares about Sudan. We have always cared about Sudan. We have been here for many decades with our embassy, with Swedish companies, with Swedish foreign aid to Sudan, and we continue to do so. Since the outbreak of the war, we have provided more than $200 million in aid to Sudan, and Sudan remains the biggest recipient of Swedish humanitarian aid worldwide. Sweden is today, of course, a developed country, and I just learned that one of your cabinet members has a son that lives in Sweden, and I'm very happy to hear that. But Sweden was not always a developed country. Back in the 16th and 17th hundreds, we waged more than 30 wars with our neighbors, with Norway, with Denmark, with Finland, with Russia, with all of them.
So you went through a lot.
Yes, and we realized, of course, and we learned the hard way that you have to make peace with your enemies. You don't make peace with your friends. This is a hard and very universal truth. But so we did, and for the past 200 years we have had peace, and this has allowed us the prosperity that we enjoy today. And so, if you would allow me, Your Excellency, I would be curious to ask you a question, if I may. And that would be what you foresee in the short term in terms of possible confidence-building measures in Sudan to move towards a peace with your enemies. Thank you.
For Sudan, our sincere appreciation for convening this meeting, and France's commitment to continue trying to do all we can to keep the international attention on the Sudanese crisis, and to try to do our utmost to answer to the needs and the aspirations of the Sudanese people. Thank you.
From the German embassy and for the German ambassador, I just want to thank you and everybody here present for this great opportunity to meet all of you. I've seen many faces I've seen before, many good conversations we had. it will continue to be held. I'm just very grateful for that. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank Wolfgang for making it possible on our side also. Thank you. I guess that's it.
Our party dictated camps, or you come to a win-win situation. We are looking for a win-win situation, and this brings confidence building measures. It's not easy, as such war fought in Sudan, where we have seen the infrastructure, we have seen the destruction, and that's one part of the country which we have seen is Khartoum now. But if you travel to other areas, it's worse than this one. Loss of lives, people buried alive, ethnic cleansing, rape, violence against women is weaponized. Everything in the books is being implemented or in Sudan, or practiced in Sudan. It's not an easy way of building the confidence building measures, but it is an obligation. It has to happen at one point of time. To happen, you need to create an enabling environment on that one. This is what we are trying. And I believe your being here is part of this confidence building. Because talking to you, you will have friends that will talk to you. That something somewhere at the end of the tunnel is going to, brew up and come up. So we are confident we will come to peace. It's not an easy one, it's an uphill battle now. But we will reach there. Even those we are considered now part of the genociders, whether directly or indirectly. The feeling now in Sudan, the situation and the position of the people in Sudan now is hostile because they are seeing this one. You need this thing one to heal down a bit, and then peace will come. And it is healing down. This is why people start coming. They are seeing their houses destroyed. They are seeing the infrastructure is destroyed. They are seeing the lives are wasted. But again, at the end of the day, they will reach. This is a difficult war in Sudan. It's one of the most difficult wars in Sudan. Sudan has been in war. Have you lived here for 10 years? You know Sudan has been in war for quite a very, very long time. It's not an easy situation. But this one is a catastrophic war that happened in Sudan. People need to swallow a bit by a bit the devastation so that they come into the. But as leaders, the leaders who I'm seeing here, they are here to lead. And since they are going to lead, they will also educate the people who are leading gradually how do we come to peace, how do we build the peace within it. And that's not enough, because even if we come to peace tomorrow, the small arm groups says Sudan has 35 million pieces of gun in Sudan. How do you administer this one also? This is what we do after the war, and reconciliation of the people, they themselves. If a group is being buried alive and then you come and tell them, please forget about that one, let us sit on the table. You need an extra efforts so that they come to the table and then agree with the genocides who have actually committed this one, ethnic cleansing. So I believe the leaders who we are seeing, they will work for that one. This is why they are leaders. This is why they are here to also talk to you tomorrow and listen to you, because they are mentally prepared for future reconciliations. How it happens. It happens in so many countries that people fight and then they reconcile. As I said, some of you are old enough to know that 80 years ago you were in Europe. You are also, doing the same thing. I don't want to say butchering yourself, but at least we see you shooting your backs also as we are doing now in some of the countries. So we are ready for that one. And I thank you all, and I thank the Prime Minister and all the people who are sitting here. And I believe tomorrow we will be engaging the important people who are staying here. And I invite you for a very small dinner here as trying to trying to create an enabling environment for the sleeping. Thank you very much. So we move to the tables.
شكرا السيد رئيس الوزراء.
Who's going to lead us?